What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, and we're returning to Junk Culture 1984. Thank you to both Philip and Seb, those who have provided OMD material. I think Han Solo did too. In any case, the next tune is, what is it, all wrapped up. I was thinking all wedged up, but yes, all wrapped up. I suppose that can mean a few different things on the surface. All wrapped up can mean finished, done, everything's done and dusted, it's all wrapped up, it's all completed. But all wrapped up could also mean made presentable, it's all wrapped up, with, with a nice little bow on top. All wrapped up could also mean, again, sort of where your hands are tied, where you don't feel like you have any range of motion, figuratively or literally. So those are obviously three very different possibilities, and I don't think those exhaust the possibilities of what the phrase could mean. So, yeah, I suppose if it is one of those three interpretations, even then, it's not clear what the wider story would be, but yeah, it's the kind of phrase that I think can mean different things depending on the situation in which you say it. I'll see what I can catch on the first listen. This is Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. The track is All Wrapped Up, and it's from their 1984 album, Junk Culture. Steel drum. I feel like I should be in a conga line somewhere. that little brass flourish at the end kicked it up to a higher gear for me. I mean, the whole tune is fun, and lyrically, I'm a bit perplexed because it feels like there's some different sides to this. But yeah, that brass line at the end, is that a trumpet? That was my favorite part. So, okay, like right away it starts with this, cycling, danceable, again, sort of conga line, rhythmic energy. And then definitely the song feels like it's very islander. It feels like I'm at a beach party somewhere, engaged in revelry. And eventually we get some steel drums, so then it feels like it's a bit Caribbean. It feels like we could be down in, Jamaica or the Dominican Republic or somewhere. But at the same time, like, the lyrics seem emotionally conflicted or problematic, meaning the opening parts that I caught is about a guy who is going to get torn apart by someone, have his heart broken by someone. So that, doesn't exactly feel like danceable and fun. And then later in the tune, it's like the narrator saying to someone else, like, oh, your mouth's going to get you in trouble one day. And, you might think it doesn't, but that just shows how little you really know. So I'm wondering, is that part connected to the earlier part about someone who's brokenhearted? Or maybe, like, they're speaking to the person who is breaking someone else's heart? So, again, maybe there's a thread linking the different verses, but it just seemed like suddenly we were like talking about a very different scenario as it got to the later verse. But I do love the steel drum too. Again, it's like a very particular sound, maybe even a niche type of sound, where it's like it's really like of a particular associated set of genres when you hear it. And yet, or the movie Commando, if you've ever seen that 80s movie where the steel drum just all over the soundtrack or score. Nevertheless, it felt like a very fitting element, given that the Sonics up until that point were, again, giving me a bit of this like islander vibe. Although at the very beginning I was like, oh, are we on Bourbon Street in New Orleans? But then no, it felt like it was more islander, and again with the steel drum fitting right into that. And then again the brass had this sort of celebratory revelry type of atmosphere to it. So yeah, it maybe feels like one of those tunes where the Sonics are at odds with or running in a different direction from the lyrics, which I enjoy. That can be a really cool thing when it's like, oh, it sounds so happy. Oh, damn. Like, it's a more pained or like dark type of lyrical atmosphere. I immediately think of Dubstar. They've done that in a number of songs I've heard from them. And then sometimes it's the other way around, right? Like sometimes the lyrics are very, or the Sonics are very somber and heavy, and yet you hear the lyrics like, oh, that's kind of, that's profound, that's inspiring, that's very positive. So yeah, it feels like there's songs which run in the same direction lyrically and sonically, and then there's songs which, go in different directions, and that can be very rewarding or fitting in a way. So yeah, it felt like the lyrics were more complicated or at odds than the Sonics were, which felt like I should just be having a great time and dancing around a beach with others. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what people have to say about this one. Admittedly, again, it feels a million miles away from Dazzle Ships. I'll probably keep saying that, and again, I know that they can go way more experimental, right on up to way more catchy and poppy. This feels more the latter, or more the poppy side of the spectrum, and yet with a particular flavor that is maybe less common in a, synth pop tune from the 80s. So yeah, just a really interesting track. Let me know what you think about it, and I will see you next time. Peace.